Tier 7, Under the Iceberg. Entry 132, Witch Crying Authentic Audio. I'm not sure what this is referring to. Perhaps referring to the fact that the witch's wandering form, where she is up and walking around, is audio from a notable person. This variation of the witch is voiced by the actress Ellen McLean, who has also worked in other Valve games. The sitting witches crying are just stock sounds whose voice actress is unknown. Entry 133. The Bible predicted Left 4 Dead's creation. Okay, this is pretty ridiculous. I tried to find information about it, but I didn't find a single thing. But people do make claims that the games have religious undertones, like I've discussed a few earlier, and we'll do a couple more later. Entry 134. Francis is imaginary. This is a wild theory that states Francis is imaginary and not even real. But there's a lot of holes in this theory, like how it doesn't state how if he is fake, then how can all 3 of the other survivors see him, and later on, the 4 of the second group? You could make the argument that they have folie à deux, or a shared delusion, but this is extremely rare, and I don't think they would have passed it onto the second group. Entry 135, Whisper.mdl. Once again, an entry with nothing about it. I have tried to look up what .mdl means, and I found it can mean method detection limit, multi-district litigation, mobile driver's license, Moldovan Leo, material definition language, and a bunch of stupid definitions on Urban Dictionary, and all have absolutely nothing to do with Left 4 Dead. The term Whisper does remind me of the Whisperers from Walking Dead, who are a group of people who skin the zombies and use them as suits to move with and blend in with the hordes of zombies. Maybe this is referring to them and how they may also exist in this universe. However, the zombies from the 2 medias behave differently. The zombies here attack anyone who they sense isn't a zombie and or is sprayed with boomer bile, so I don't really think being a whisper would really work in the Left 4 Dead universe. Entry 136, Left 4 Dead 1 Racist Model. I mean, none of the characters in Left 4 Dead 1 as far as I know are racist. Neither are any of the concept art or early beta character designs. Perhaps they're talking about Lewis's beta model, but it doesn't really look racist to me. He just looks a lot different than the Lewis we know and love today. Entry 137. Nobody needed to die in the sacrifice. This is referring to the theory that nobody actually needed to die in the sacrifice, and that they could have just worked together and stayed on the raised bridge to kill the last horde and 3 tanks so they could safely go down and restart the generator themselves when the coast was clear. It makes sense since Bill jumping down and doing it himself seemed kind of like a spur of the moment, and maybe he wasn't thinking straight. Entry 138, GoldenEye 4 Dead Rooms. This is referring to another custom campaign for Left 4 Dead 2, which was modeled after the game GoldenEye 007. I believe this specific one is referring to the secret rooms and areas that can be found on this campaign, particularly one which will spawn an unreasonable amount of witches and tangs to go and kill you if you enter. Entry 139, Dark Carnival Menu Zombie. This is referring to a zombie that can be seen in the second game's menu, the Dark Carnival one. If you wait for a short amount of time, a zombie will peek its head from behind the wall of the ticket booth, showing glowing eyes. The zombie is the uncommon infected for that particular level, the clown. The clown has squeaky shoes, which will attract other common infected of the area to your location when running towards you. Their noses will also squeak if you shove them back. And the flowers on their shirt can rarely be seen squirting water when they're idle. Entry 140, Daybreak Gnome Dimension. This is referring to yet another custom-made mod called Daybreak. In it, you can find Noam Chomsky in various parts of the levels, hidden in specific places. If you take him to certain areas and enter a code, you can access a room with other gnomes in strange positions, while weird audio plays, gain secondary tasks like collecting coins, and kill a very large horde of infected, all while the screen changes colors, like its darker or thermal colors, and on the final map, you must kill other gnomes to succeed and complete the campaign. Entry 141, Valve's least known franchise. Personally, this doesn't really seem to be true, as even 15 years later, the Left 4 Dead community seems to be alive, with people playing mods, uploading gameplay, creating custom campaigns, and speculating about a potential third game, new theories, and other stuff like that. Entry 142, Dead Air has the most dead people. Overall, the first game's campaigns, this one seems to be true. Dead Air usually has the most special infected killed and spawning in overall. The campaign just before the finale near the end, when you go through the security scanner and trip the alarm, spawns an endless horde which will not stop coming until you get into the safe room. Entry 143, Shrek Tank Mod. This is just referring to a mod that turns the tank special infected into Shrek, and also replaces the sounds of him with Shrek's voice and his yelling. It's pretty funny. Entry 144, Glubtastic Meaning. This is, once again, another custom campaign for both the Left 4 Dead games, where the maps are weird and you have to complete bizarre scenarios and tasks and puzzles. It's supposedly the most well-known map of the "What the hell did I just play" category of custom campaigns. Tier 8, the Mariana Trench. Entry 145, never came out of beta testing. I mean, this obviously isn't true, as different zombies, survivors, effects, and such were changed from beta testing to the final releases. But just maybe, it actually means that the game we got was entirely different from what they had planned, and the final releases were massively reworked and unrecognizable from the game we know of. But there's no evidence for this. Entry 146, Francis likes stairs. Unfortunately, this is not true, and Francis on a couple of occasions will say that he hates stairs. He says the only thing he doesn't hate is vests. Who knows, maybe he really does like stairs, because Bill hates them, so he likes them to spite him. Entry 147, Left 4 Dead 1's events are all in Bill's head as he dies. This theory says that all of the events in Left 4 Dead leading up to his canonical death and the sacrifice are all inside Bill's head as he reminisces everything he and the others went through together and bonded over as he dies. But however, there is no evidence to support this theory. Entry 148, the developers were cannibals. This theory states that the developers of this game were cannibals, which is how they got the sounds, gore, and other stuffs about the zombies and the screams of the survivors and anatomy so right. Almost creepily to a T, like they were cannibals or something. But as far as we know, they aren't cannibalistic, and I don't think anyone's ever asked. If they have, we haven't gotten a response yet. Entry 149, it has no glitches. Ha, I wish. Yes, there are a couple glitches in Left 4 Dead that I've encountered, from weird textures appearing, strange green blood, and a fluorescent red safe house door, and more recently, the music and movement glitching and becoming silent. And I completed a campaign, and as the credits rolled, the music stopped and only played the ambience of the final stage, then glitched out at the end and froze, making me have to restart my console. I think my disc is getting worn out and old. Perhaps it's time for a replacement. Entry 150, Left 4 Dead 2's prequel. Unfortunately, neither games have prequels, but on various sites it tells what they were doing prior to meeting each other at the apartments and the hotel. People have discussed online that maybe Left 4 Dead 2 doesn't need a sequel, but rather, a prequel, and maybe officially show what happened during the first days of the outbreak. Entry 151, Coach Textures inside of the tank. This theory says that there is a hidden texture inside of the tanks from Left 4 Dead 2, which are Coach's character model and texture. Unfortunately, this hasn't been proven or debunked yet, so we don't know for sure. But it sounds pretty ridiculous. But until someone does, I guess I'll keep an open mind. But whenever I try to get close to the tank or try and clip inside of him to see for myself, it doesn't let me, and I end up getting punched back by it. Entry 152. Survivors are self-aware. This theory states that the survivors are actually self-aware that they are fictional and inside of a video game. But as you might have guessed, I really didn't find any evidence to support it. None of them make fourth wall breaks either, so this is most likely false. Entry 153. Scrapped weapons and lawnmower in Blood Harvest. There are various scrapped weapons from the games which didn't make it into the final drafts, and I discussed it in my explaining every single weapon and item in Left 4 Dead video. An M249 saw, or light machine gun, was shown in the trailer for the first game, and Bill was using it, but it doesn't appear in the game. In Left 4 Dead 2, there are way more weapons which were scrapped, from a flare gun, a rocket launcher, a didgeridoo, riot shield, and Coach had a compound bow and early concept art. A Ruger P85 was supposed to appear as well, and the M1911 was going to make a comeback from the first game. There is also a homemade improvised weapon that can be seen in the Blood Harvest campaign. In one of the houses you must go through, a lawnmower with blood all over the floor and chunks of meat all over the walls and roof can be seen. Entry 154. Mother.mdl. Do not research. I am not really sure what this is referring to. The only thing I found were fan-made special infected, which show a mother zombie with her stomach all open with large teeth lining it, and one where a mother zombie is connected to a little boy zombie with veins via the stomach, like an umbilical cord. I guess it's pretty nasty, so don't look it up if you're squeamish, even though I probably will have it on screen, but whatever. Tier 9. The Beyond. Entry 155. Gabe Newell is secretly a co-director. This is referring to the theory that Gabe Newell, the co-founder of Valve and the owner of Steam, played a hand in the creation of Left 4 Dead and secretly worked as a co-director. This has neither been confirmed or denied by him, but a lot of people point out that Left 4 Dead, which was made by both Valve and Turtle Rock Studios, and Back 4 Blood, Left 4 Dead's supposed spiritual successor, which was made by only Turtle Rock Studios and 7 other people from Valve, are so different, and why the former is considered one of the greatest games of all time, while Back 4 Blood is considered by many to be a half-baked flop that should have just been Left 4 Dead 3, but wasn't. Entry 156. Left 4 Dead 2's post-credit scene. Don't look this up. I tried to search up for a post-credit scene of Left 4 Dead, but unfortunately I found nothing about it. The only thing I did find was a fan-made animation of the Left 4 Dead 2 bad ending created by Zapper770 on YouTube. In it, Nick, Ellis, Coach, and Rochelle are trapped at the beginning of the passing campaign, as the first group isn't there. A large horde of zombies approaches them, and they decide to go out on their own terms. They leave it up to Nick, who shoots the other 3 in the head as a mercy killing. He wants to do it to himself, but cannot. He gets out of the car and the horde chases him, and a tank shows up. They stand off and Nick falls victim to the tank. Perhaps there really is an unofficial post-credit scene, but it's so obscure and hidden out there, and so horrifying, that it was locked away, never to be seen by anyone. Entry 157. Pre-released E3 2009 build. We discussed this earlier, how there were a couple of effects in Special Infected and the weapons and survivor appearances that were changed from the beta testing to the final releases. Once again, these were restored in a conversion mod of the first game, where it restores the 2007 builds and fully recreates the experience of the beta design of it. It was released in autumn of 2023. Entry 158. Left 4 Dead official porno. Oh goodness, here we go. Yes, I had to look this up, and no, there isn't anything pornographic that was made by Valve for the Left 4 Dead games. How about you don't look this up, for your sake? I mean, unless you really like Zoe, because she seems to be the most popular one to do the deed. Entry 159. Secret Hell Campaign. All I found on this were a couple of custom maps that didn't really have anything to do with the hell, but maybe there is a secret unlockable or accessible campaign which takes you to the afterlife, and you must fight your way through it. But maybe it's only on bootleg copies. However, still, there's nothing about this. But I think it would really be cool if someone made a custom map where you had to fight your way out of hell, with Dante's Inferno version, with the 9 circles, and ascend to heaven, but so far no one has done it. Entry 160. Buddha mode and God mode. I briefly discussed this earlier, but I'll do it again. This is a simple cheat, in which if you use God mode, you don't take damage at all. Whereas if you use Buddha mode, your health can drop to 0, but you won't die, nor be incapacitated, and it won't be a game over. Entry 161. Nick is a sex trafficker. This is actually an interesting theory, which states that Nick's most notable past criminal offense was being a sex trafficker. This might be why he's so secretive about his past. He's only one of the second group whose hometown is unknown, and as established from earlier, he may be a part of the same gang as Francis, Hell's Legion. In one line of dialogue, he says, "Why couldn't I be in New York when the outbreak hit? Or even Vegas?" The latter being infamous for escorts and strip clubs. Now I looked up statistics for this entry, and while it is true that Nevada is the only state in America where prostitution is illegal to some capacity, it's illegal in Clark County, where Las Vegas is. Furthermore, it's also illegal in the counties of Carson City, Douglas, Eureka, Lincoln, Pershing, and Washoe. It is legal in, and has at least one active brothel, in the counties of Elko, Lander, Leon, Mineral, Nye, Story, and White Pine. It's also legal in the counties of Churchill, Esmeralda, and Humboldt, but there are no active brothels in those counties. I also looked up statistics for states with the highest sex trafficking crimes, and the one with the highest rate is Mississippi, followed by Nevada, but the state with the highest number of cases was California. Anyway, there's no other signs that Nick is guilty of this crime, and the dialogue he says doesn't really make sense or point to this, given the statistics I just listed. Entry 162. Left 4 Dead 1 is a movie. This is just referring to the opening scenes of the games, not just the first ones, and the gameplay in general. How to most people it seems cinematic. I slightly disagree, as I think, for instance, Telltale's Walking Dead is more akin to a movie than Left 4 Dead. As far as we know, no Left 4 Dead live-action or animated movie is being made, let alone being planned. I think if they ever did choose to make a movie or show about it, the crew should really be made up of gamers and hardcore fans who are actually passionate about the games. Or perhaps Sentry means what I said earlier in the iceberg, that everything is a movie set with the survivors are just actors and the zombies are just makeup and costumes. Entry 163. Survivors are already dead and in Purgatory, and the special infected are the 7 deadly sins. This wild theory states that all of the survivors are actually dead, and we are witnessing them in hell, trying to ascend to heaven, and that the special infected represent demons, or the 7 deadly sins. I tried my best to attach each special infected to a deadly sin, so here it goes. Spitter represents lust because, well, Boomer represents gluttony because he's fat and must have been obese in life. Jockey represents greed, I guess, because he drags you away and only wants you for himself. Smoker represents sloth, I guess, because he's a smoker and slow. The witch and tank represent wrath because they're the most powerful and violent. The hunter represents envy, I guess, and charger represents pride because I guess he likes to show off his muscular arms. This could also explain why after Bill died, he went to Dead by Daylight, which has been compared to Purgatory or Hell, and everyone else survived and went to Heaven. Zoe, Francis, and Lewis to an island paradise in Florida, and the second group to an unknown safe zone in military custody. But once again, Bill and Dead by Daylight is not canon. Entry 164. Actual pain screams. As far as I'm aware, all the voice actors were simply just acting when they screamed while falling or about to die and incapacitated. The actors are all alive and well and still acting, so I'm not really sure what this is entailing. I mean, Alice's pain scream sounds so silly, there's no way that's real. Entry 165. Jim French died shortly after they killed Bill off. Sadly, Jim French, the voice actor for Bill, is indeed dead, and may his soul rest in peace. But the theory that he died shortly after they killed Bill off in The Sacrifice is false. The Sacrifice was released October 5th, 2010, while Jim French died December 20th, 2017. Unless you consider 7 years a short amount of time, this entry is debunked. Entry 166. Infected CEDA agents represent fallen angels. Fallen angels are now demons who in Christianity rebelled against God and were kicked out of heaven when the war was over and God and his angels emerged victorious. I guess if you make the allegory that CEDA or the government represents God and the survivors are angels, you can make the infected CEDA workers as demons, but honestly this one seems far-fetched. Entry 167. Left 4 Dead maps look weird in the daytime. This may be true depending on who you ask or which level you play. I mean, some of the maps are pretty dark, but personally, I can see them just fine in the daylight. I will say, some do look often if I play in the daytime, and it feels more right to play in the night when all the lights are off. I mean, to compare, if you play Silent Hill during the day, you can hardly see shit, but those games are usually pretty monotone or dark. Entry 168. Rochelle killed her boyfriend. This theory is plausible, but unconfirmed. When Rochelle is low on health, in the red, on very rare occasions, she will say to herself, "Girl, you should have stayed with Jacob." The fact that she rarely says this line means she may not like to reminisce on this Jacob guy, and she might have even had to kill him due to him not being immune. Once again, carriers can infect non-immune people just by standing next to them, though it's not exactly explained what relationship Rochelle and Jacob were in. If he was a boyfriend, friend, coworker, or family member. So this theory is still up in the air. Entry 169. Virgil is not a person, but rather a talking boat. This is a joke theory going around the Left 4 Dead 2 community, which says that Virgil is a sentient boat. It would explain why there is no character model for him when the boat is present. They probably didn't make one for him due to a lot of factors, but it doesn't explain why Whitaker, whom you only see once, has a character model. You see Virgil way more than him, when he rescues you from the plantation at the end of Swamp Fever, twice in Hard Rain, when he drops you off then comes to get you when you bring back the diesel, and at the beginning of the parish, when he drops you off in New Orleans and bids you farewell. I really doubt he is a boat. Maybe a 5th character model would have been too much of a hassle to put in the boat and animate for, so they chose to keep him modelless. Entry 170. The Nightmare Folder. This is referring to a rumor going around that the devs have a digital folder with images of real-life victims' bodies of gruesome and gory accidents, murders, autopsies, and burnings somewhere hidden in their studio, which has never been released to the public and is kept under tight security and secrecy. The reason they have these is because originally, when designing the zombies, they wanted to make the gore and corpses as real-looking as possible, but decided that it was too awful and horrifying, so instead referenced their bodies and gore off of ragdolls and house insulation. I do recall a couple people asking for it, but Valve has been famously silent about it. This theory is unconfirmed. Okay, and that's gonna be the end of this iceberg video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I put a lot of research into this video, and I'm so happy that I chose to revamp my channel a year ago and play my favorite game. If you like this video, leave a like and share it, dislike it if you're lame. And hey, I omitted a couple entries from the iceberg, so if you'd like to see those, tell me, and I'll make another video about them. Have a nice day, and see you next time. This is Pink Lemonade Guy, and I am out of here.